Welcome to the Party Wagon Podcast, where we talk about all things TMNT, past, present, and future. I'm your host, Eric, from the YouTube channel No You Grow Up.
And I'm Brendan from the YouTube channel Brendan's Rambles. And this has been a busy week for Ninja Turtles. Like, a lot of stuff has happened. You know, last week we're like, oh, we didn't think we're gonna have anything to talk about in the opening segment, but thank God something came out at the last second. It's like, we didn't have to thank God for anything this week. It was just like turtles. And the biggest thing of all, we'll touch upon some other stuff, but the biggest thing to talk about is Mutant Mayhem. The first official trailer has come out for the movie.
So we got the first official trailer. We got action figures we get to talk about later. Like, I feel like going forward, we're not really going to have any shortages on news. I feel like there's going to be stuff kind of coming out constantly now. So that's really exciting. Because I feel like the first of the year typically is just the slowest on news, action figure releases, everything. So now that we're getting into this meatier part of the year, I mean, the closer we get to things, the more excited I get about it. And after seeing this trailer, I went from being like, I'll go into it kind of with an open mind to, all right, the trailer looks pretty damn good. Like, I'm pretty excited about this.
I mean, it's basically following the same formula the Mario movie did, where like we knew it was coming for years. Then they put up the teaser trailer with Bowser attacking the penguins or whatever. And then like, boom, after that, just more. And just like, we can't stop getting Mario stuff now. So I feel like now that we finally got the official teaser for this movie, it's going to be the same thing. Like, it's probably at the Mario movie, there's going to be a full trailer for this movie probably.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we got it before then, because I mean, so we're still 2 months away, I think, from the release of the Mario movie.
Oh no, that's less than a month away. That's April 7th.
Oh, it's April. I thought it was May for some reason. That's awesome.
No, it's April 7th. It's right around the corner.
All right. Hell yeah. I'm pretty excited about that then. I think we'll get one. Hopefully. I mean, maybe it will be about a month then, but yeah, I'm just very excited to see more, because I mean, we can talk about what we have seen so far, and just starting off with, let's just talk about the turtles themselves. Other than Mikey's head, that's really the only thing that bothers me. Like, they look great.
It doesn't look as bad in motion. In motion, it doesn't look quite as bad, I will say.
I agree. And I feel like, because the thing that just kind of throws me off is it just in a still picture, his eyes just look so far apart. It's like super off-putting again. The Mayor McCheese is just what I'm always going to be thinking in the back of my mind. I'm never going to be able to get that image out of my mind. But yeah, like when I was watching the trailer, I wasn't really thinking about any of that, honestly, except when they actually did call attention to it, when they're like, why do we have to use a piece of fruit that's shaped exactly like my head? Which I wish they would have used a pumpkin, because that's a little bit more kind of what I saw it as. But it's kind of cool that they're kind of poking fun at themselves a little bit too. Pretty excited for this, because it does just look fun. And honestly, like, that's all I can really hope for anything out of Turtles at this point, because let's be real, we're never going to get the 87 Turtles redone. We're never going to get the 1990 movies Turtles redone. So at this point, you just pretty much have to be open-minded to what's coming. And again, you don't have to love everything. I'm not saying you're going to, but is someone that had no expectations for this trailer whatsoever. Like, I was excited on the level of I'm a Turtles fan, but like I said, I'm going into this very neutral, and the trailer honestly got me pretty hyped.
I mean, we did actually get the 87 show basically redone at one point. It was called Out of the Shadows, and nobody watched it. So, it was different too. It had its problems, I know, but yeah, it's I had very neutral expectations for this. Again, like you said, like, you know, my Turtles have come and gone. We've had so many versions of the Turtles. I love all the versions of the Turtles, even if they're not my Turtles. But you know, with each version, it's hard to be as excited with each version that comes out. I will say, like, I think it was the night before the teaser drop, they just put out this onslaught of voice actors and like what roles they'd be playing. And it just started to blow my mind. Like, wait, Mondo Gecko is in this freaking movie, and Ray Fillet is in this movie, and Wingnut is in this movie, and an Utrom is in this movie, and Genghis Frog. And it's like, what the hell is this movie? Like, that just started to get my interest, because like, okay, what is this freaking movie now? Yeah, immediately, we didn't have to wait long. Immediately we got a trailer. And yeah, like, the comedy is not really for me. It's more of this like younger style of comedy. Where, you know, it's funny sometimes. Like, you know, the Sonic movies had it. I still liked those. I thought those were fun. But it's not really like, you know, like gonna make me like burst out laughing or anything. But it's fun. And I think that's the important thing, is the movie, like you said, it just looks fun. It looks like kids are gonna dig this like a lot. Like, kids are gonna love this movie. And I know a lot of fans say they want like Turtles geared more for older audiences, but Unfortunately, I don't think that would really make a lot of money, and I think Paramount knows that wouldn't make a lot of money, especially since this is supposed to be like the attempt at getting a new generation of kids into Turtles. Because as good as Rise was, unfortunately, that didn't work out very good. Like commercially, it didn't make a lot of money. It didn't get a lot of people into Turtles. So this really is like their effort to get a brand new 2020s generation of kids into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I think it could work.
I mean, I think it could too. And directed towards kids, I get that. But typically, I like kids' movies. Again, we're talking about Mario. Ultimately, that's a kids'
Yeah.
movie at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I'm pretty excited for that. Turtles, it's just different because, like, that's my franchise. You know what I mean? So I think about it a little bit differently than I do something like Mario, to where, like, yeah, I love the video games, but like, the Super Mario Brothers, what was the original show called?
Oh, the Super Show, Super Mario
Yeah,
Bros.
like, I mean, that's like the only Mario show, like, that I can even remember. Was there ever even an actual cartoon?
No,
just when they went into the cartoon in the show, there was no like real cartoon, right?
Well, the US one, US one made by Deke, or maybe it was Europe. There was Deke of Europe and Deke of America, and I know we all just called it Dick when we were kids,
right?
But one of them, because one of them did one Sonic cartoon, the other one did the other Sonic cartoon. That's why there was that weird thing where there was two totally different Sonic cartoons at once. I don't know which one did the Mario one. I think it was the US one. There was the Super Show, which ran for 2 seasons, which was based on Mario 1 and 2. And that had like Lou Albano and like the live action scenes, like where it was like they'd go into the cartoon. Then when Mario 3 came out, they rebranded it as The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3, and they got rid of the live action segments. Then when Mario World came out, they rebranded it as Super Mario World, got rid of Toad, replaced him with Yoshi, and that once that ran out, they just stopped the cartoon. There was like a couple anime movies in Japan back in like the 80s and early 90s, but really that's it. Like there was the live action Mario movie, there was the Mario cartoon shows that were all connected by Deke, and then there was a couple anime movies, but like after the 90s, we didn't get a single Mario piece of media like that ever. So
Exactly. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit just more kind of pumped for the Mario movie, because we haven't been getting something like we do with the Turtles that have been, I mean, turned out over and over and over and over again, to where it's expected every couple of years you get some new Turtles. Getting back to them, like this being directed towards kids. So a couple things that I noticed right off the bat, like I can see them being able to adapt this into a regular ongoing series very easily, because even though like the cast is very star-studded, it's all like the side characters and stuff like that. But the Turtles actors, I mean, I'm pretty sure these are pretty much unknowns going into it. So that would make sense why they would go that direction, because if they do spin it off into an ongoing series, it's going to cost them a lot less than paying the actors that they have. I mean, for like the 2012 show, I mean, Leonardo was Jason Biggs. He was Seth Green. He was one other person too. You know what I mean? I'm sure they commanded a little bit more money than what they're probably paying these actual kids by the sound of their voices.
I mean, especially Donnie. There's no way we can avoid that. Is Donnie, he sounds like he's like 10. I think that might end up working really well for Don, because I think he might just have like, because you know the other turtles, like Raph is always the badass one. So like kids who like badass characters are gonna like Raph. People like fun characters are gonna like Mike. Don might be the one that everyone who loves cute characters might go crazy for Don, because he sounds like he's 10 years old.
So I already have my theory with Don too. And again, this is just a shot in the dark. I wonder if they're going to play like a puberty thing with him where his voice starts changing during the movie, and maybe he'll start like squeaking and stuff like that. And then maybe by the end, he has like a super deep voice or something. You know what I mean? Because clearly, I mean, Seth Rogen said he wanted to play into the teenage aspect, but I mean, I would consider them, I mean, by the sounds of their voices, to be like 13. You know what I mean? Like they're definitely like, when I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think 16. I don't know why, that's just the age that I just think of them as teenagers, like kind of old enough to be like annoying and stuff like that, but not so fresh to where exactly, I mean, they're literally like just crossing over to puberty by the sounds of it. So
I usually think of them, around like 16 or 17, around the age where like you're kind of rebellious, you're kind of obnoxious, you have like frat boy humor, you're like, you know, like I picture that kind of like angsty age. Where like 13, I don't think of it as being angsty. Like you're just playful at 13. So But they do seem pretty playful in the trailers. So
Well, yeah, I mean, because even from the start, like I feel like again, that's what they're like. They feel like kids, you know what I mean? And again, there's nothing wrong with that either because intro sequence is pretty fun. And like I said, I'm just interested to see where they go with it, like how they bring in all these other side characters and stuff like that. Because we didn't really get much from this teaser. Like, I mean, it was more than a regular teaser trailer, but not quite a regular trailer. I feel like because we got brief glimpses of Bebop and Rocksteady. We get April towards the end, but that's about it. I guess there was a shot of Splinter, but he doesn't even talk or anything. And that's really all we were shown.
The shot of Splinter, real quick, not to get too off topic, the shot of Splinter, just want to touch on that for a second. I theorize it's a flashback because he looks nothing like the action figure we saw. He doesn't have the sunglasses and stuff. I'm pretty sure the action figure, he was wearing blue and stuff. Like he was just dressed like he was on like a Disney cruise in like the action figure. In this one, he had like an afro or like a perm or something when you see him. So I'm guessing it's a flashback. Maybe he got mutated really young because, you know, if he's supposed to be like in his 60s or 70s now, that probably means he was in his prime in like the 70s or 80s. So it's probably a flashback to like when he was in his prime or something. So that's what I was thinking there because he looks so different from. I didn't notice if the toy had that like Jerry curl. Like,
no, so that's exactly what I was gonna say. That's why I think you're right about parking it in the '80s because that's exactly how I saw that. Is like some dude with a Jerry curl wearing like the Michael Jackson Thriller jacket.
Yeah.
Like that's just exactly what I saw when I saw that Splinter.
Yeah, it's exactly what it looked like. So I remember like in the Wedding Singer, like his like Adam Sandler's buddies, like he's wearing like the Michael Jackson jacket. And he's got like the same hair and stuff. So,
right?
But
yeah, that's exactly what it came to mind when I thought of that.
That's yeah, it's just so you had a theory that I do think it holds a lot of weight of this like mutant high school idea that like it's almost going to be like an underground high school for mutants or something happens in the movie like a mutant pandemic and mutants become accepted in society but they have their own school or something like that. I just don't see how else you're going to throw in all these mutant characters. But the only thing that throws a wrench in that idea, where I do think that's probably what's going to happen, is like, well, why the hell would they get Paul Rudd to play Mondo Gecko then? If the Turtles are like, sound they're 13, then Mondo Gecko is voiced by a 57-year-old man or whatever the hell he is. He's not that old, I don't think. But like, you know, like he's being voiced by Paul Rudd. It's like, well, you'd assume Mondo would be like Mike's age. But
with voice actors, they can kind of play anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it'd be easy, especially to do a teenage voice. But that's, again, what I'm just the most interested about is how they're going to incorporate all these other characters. Because now I'm kind of abandoning my idea a little bit, or my theory. Because the one thing that's just kind of like making my mind go in different directions is when they bust through that door and then that group of gang members or whatever, like they've clearly never seen the Turtles before, you know what I mean? Which also probably means they haven't seen a lot of mutants. So I'm wondering if something is going to happen to where everybody is going to get mutated like now kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like maybe where the Turtles have been around for a while, but like all these other mutants are going to originally come into play now.
Yeah, because when April's talking to them at the end, they clearly say they were baby turtles that came in contact with the ooze. So they've definitely been turtles for a while. But Bebop and Rocksteady, I don't know, maybe they're like in the sewers or something, but I feel like in the shot, they're just standing in like the middle of the streets when we see them. They're like bopping like to some music, and they're just like standing out in the streets. Like they're just, you know, part of the town. Like they're not hiding at all. So, I mean, I guess they wouldn't. They're villains. They don't care. But even when the Turtles are talking to April, I think they're just doing it on the streets. It's not like in their lair like it traditionally was, like the meeting of April O'Neil. So it seems like the mutants are going to spend a lot more time just like out in the open on the streets in this movie and not so much in hiding. I mean, if there's that many mutants, it's going to be hard to hide them. So like,
and again, that's why going back to like when you said earlier, like the mutant pandemic thing, I think that's kind of what's going to happen because like, I mean, where are Bebop and Rocksteady going to hide? You know what I mean? Those guys are enormous. Like, if they've been around the city, people have probably seen them. Like, they don't practice the art of ninjutsu. They're not hiding in the shadows like the Turtles. I mean, clearly they didn't do a good job. A news reporter finds them eventually. Also, like, talking about April for a little bit, based on that design, it's kind of hard to park her where she is age-wise, too, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, she could be a reporter for a school paper. She could be, like, an actual early 20s reporter. So it'll be interesting to see kind of like where she is in the age bracket as well. If she is going to be the actual age of the Turtles, because I feel like that's more so what they've done with April lately. It's been a long time since she's been an adult. Like, I feel like gradually over time, she's gotten like younger and younger. Like in the IDW comics, she's like college age. In the 2012 show, she was a straight up teenager. I haven't seen Rise, but I'm assuming she's like younger in that by the looks of it too.
She's an even younger teen, I think, in there than she was in the 2012 cartoon, because the Turtles were all a little younger in that show than they were in previous versions. And she was supposed to be their age. That means she's even younger than she was in the 2012 cartoon. So yeah, she just keeps going down in age. So
yeah, so I could see her being a teenager, and maybe she's like reporting for like a school paper or something like that. Just talking about April in general. So it's the one thing, like, yeah, like, I don't want to like stir the pot or anything like
there's
that.
There's a lot of buzz about this topic online.
Oh my God, man. And I don't know why. Like, again, like, who was I listening to? The Toy Anxiety Pod? No, I can't even remember what podcast, what show I was listening to, but someone's just like, yeah, a bunch of people are mad because I can't jack off to her anymore. I mean, honestly, like, that's exactly right. Like, I love my April. I love the 87 April, but like, I don't mind them going totally different directions. You know what I mean? Because again, this isn't my Turtles. Like, I understand it's Turtles, but like I said, I don't really have skin in the game. If they want to take some shots, like, let them, you know what I mean? Like, it could work out. You never know what's going to happen.
I'm not losing sleep over it or anything, but I think I'll disagree a little bit because I just don't like that design. It's not that like I hate that they changed her design. I liked her Rise design. I thought in Rise she was really, really fun. She just looks like someone someone who would be working at a mall who would annoy me or something. like she looks like some teenage worker at a mall who would give you an attitude or something. Like, I don't know. She's just, to me, it's kind of, I said this about the 2012 cartoon also, that like, I don't mind changing characters until you cross that line where there's no resemblance to the character whatsoever. Like they did with Mona Lisa and Toka and Razar and stuff, where it's like, it's just a name at that point. I appreciate trying to do a new design for her, but I just feel like she doesn't stand out as a main character. She kind of just looks like an NPC you would see in the background. And I kind of had that problem with the 2003 April design, to be honest, in that show, is that she didn't look like a main character. She looked like a background character. Like she didn't really have enough like iconic features or color schemes or anything that like really pop. Like you see the colors of 87 April and you instantly know, okay, that's April O'Neil. Yep. You see the 2003 one, and it's like, okay, here's like a background character from The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest dressed like Kim Possible. And it's like, I don't know. She just doesn't stand out as like a main character. That's kind of how I feel about the new one. I'm not digging the design that much. There's a few designs I'm not digging. Still not digging Rocksteady. But yeah, I'm not like, starting World War III over April's design. It's a touchy subject, so I'm not going to go too deep on it because there's people on both sides just flinging freaking fireballs at each other over this. But I'll just say, it's not the end of the world, but it's not my favorite design. But again, this isn't my Ninja Turtles, so.
Exactly. And she's already a news reporter, you know what I mean? So there is going to be some sort of like spiritual connection to April, because I mean, like let's take the 2012 show April, for instance. Like, other than having red hair, like she was nothing like April, you know what I mean? Yeah. She wasn't a lab assistant. She wasn't a news reporter. Like, she was just a regular teenager. Her dad was.
He was a scientist.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Kirby. And that was it. He turns into monkey brains, right?
No, he turns into the Kirby bat. His name was Kirby, and he
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, monkey brains. What was his name? I forget his name. He was a different character, but yeah, she was. Yeah, I guess they kind of did the same thing in the Michael Bay movies, which is actually that's the last time she was an adult, was the Michael Bay movies. What they did in there is not so much that they're trying to get the lab assistant thing from the original comics, but they're also trying to keep her a kid. So their excuse for how she's a lab assistant is like, oh well, her dad's a scientist and she helped him in the lab growing up. That's what they did for the 2012 cartoon. That's what they did for the Michael Bay movies. And they still did, like, her and Donnie would do a lot of like science together in the 2012 cartoon. And that's even like what made Donnie start to like her, is like they were both kind of like nerds. So they kind of wanted to go the original route. They didn't do the reporter thing at all. Michael Bay one's the only one they did all of them. They're like, she's a reporter, she's a lab assistant, she's this, she's that, she was everything.
Ultimate amalgamation.
Yeah. Oh, she even named the turtles, and they just went really far. 2012, I could see what they were trying to do. with that character. But yeah, that was at that time, that was the most different April O'Neil had ever been. But anyway, getting back to the movie, we didn't really see many other characters, but we got hints at how a lot of those characters are going to look because they released those title cards for like all the characters where it writes their name. And we can see like Mondo Gecko is probably going to be blue with like white spots all over his body. Weirdly enough, I noticed there's like beads all over him. There's nothing skater related. There's just like beads. I'm wondering if he's going to be a hippie in the movie and not a skater. Like, because, you know, there was Rock and Roll Mondo in the vintage line that was like a hippie Mondo Gecko. But I want like skater Mondo Gecko. Like, that's the Mondo Gecko. But, you know, Seth Rogen, he loves his pothead characters.
And that's exactly where my mind went as soon as you started talking about that. Like, that's exactly, I could see him being the burnout.
Yeah. Like, obviously it's a kid's movie. They're not going to come right out and say it, but he's going to be the burnout character. Like the van in Cars, the Volkswagen van was like basically a stoner and stuff. Like, he's going to be that kind of joke, I think.
And again, for kids, it's pretty easy to mask that because until the one episode of The Simpsons where Otto's like, whoa, what am I smoking? Oh yeah, pot. And then, like, other than that, I never really understood Otto's shtick as a kid before I really understood weed. You know what I mean? So I feel like that is one of the easiest things to hide from kids, really.
Yeah, you just be like, oh, they're just dumb and funny. Like, you can kind of just, especially if they're like, you know, into like metal music or something, you know, with like Bill and Ted or Beavis and Butthead, you can just be like, oh, you know, like they just rotted their brain cells listening to this music or something. So it's like, it was the stereotype back then that they were, you know, metalheads were all dumb. But really, when you watch those things, it's like, no, these guys aren't dumb. They're just high. Like, they're clearly just high. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. So we're getting Wingnut without Screw Loose, or maybe Screw Loose just isn't announced. But they did that in Shredder's Revenge also, which actually, I guess before we go on any further, apologies, we're actually not going to be talking about Shredder's Revenge this week.
I guess we never even said that. So
yeah, we're going to be pushing that to next podcast because we just had so much to say about the movie, and we're going to talk about NECA later because there's a lot to say about NECA. So we're going to push Shredder's Revenge down a cast, but don't worry, we will talk about it. So there's still a lot to say about that. But yeah, they did that with Wingnut in there too. There was no Screw Loose. And I just find that weird that we keep getting Wingnut without Screw Loose now because they're like a duo. They're like Bill and Ted, you know, they're a duo. So,
and that doesn't bother me as much as before when we thought there was going to be a possibility of like Bebop with no Rocksteady. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I didn't even think about in Shredder's Revenge that it was just Wingnut, honestly. Like, I never really thought that Screw Loose wasn't there. Yeah, but you're right. It is just Wingnut. And it's probably because, I mean, Wingnut is just such a cool character in general, you know what I mean? To where, like, maybe they're like, all right, we don't need this little mosquito douche to be with him. But it's probably going to be other characters in this movie as well because, and I honestly think they're still holding something back. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just find it weird that there's no Shredder or Casey, you know what I mean? And Shredder, I can kind of understand, but no Casey just seems very weird. Like, has there ever been an iteration that doesn't have a Casey?
Movies? No. All the movie series have always had Casey.
Movies
even all the cartoon shows had Casey. Was he in the Next Mutation? Maybe Next Mutation.
Okay, yep. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know enough about that one. He might.
I've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes of the Next Mutation. I am not well versed on Next Mutation. Yeah, all the comics he's been in them. I don't know. He's like, when you get past like the A-list Turtles characters, like, you know, the 4 Turtles, April, Bebop and Rocksteady, Shredder, Splinter, and Krang, like, he's the next guy. Arguably, he comes before Krang for a lot of people. Especially since like in more iterations, he's important than, you know, iterations that Krang even exists in. So yeah, I'd really say like he's arguably an A-list Turtles character.
Oh, I mean, I would definitely call him A-list. And again, I'm very biased because he's one of my favorite characters. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely put him ahead of Krang because Krang doesn't show up in a lot of things. And when he does, like, they've kind of gone back the Utram route, which is happening in this, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like, and I also, and again, if it just because it's a female voice actor doesn't mean it can't be like a male character. You know what I mean? I guess I don't know if that's frowned upon in Hollywood now, if they're allowed to do the opposite sex anymore. But
well, I mean, Leatherhead, Wingnut, and the Utrom are all being voiced by women.
Okay, yep, you're right then. So yeah, so
I don't know the voice actress doing Leatherhead. I'll tell you what, she's a looker. If you look her up, she's a good looking girl. So's the one doing Wingnut, but the Wingnut one I know she's in that show What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, she's hilarious in that too. So
she was also the voice. Have you played Cuphead?
No.
Okay, Netflix has a Cuphead show, and there's like a giant mermaid monster character named Cala Maria, and she's the voice of the mermaid. So she can sing too, because she's doing like this over-the-top Russian accent, but she sings in the show, and she's actually good at singing. So
yeah. And so I bet that's what they're going to lean into. I bet Wingnut is probably going to be like a vampire bat, you know what I mean? And I bet she's going to play it that way.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. They took a vampire actress to voice a vampire bat, because I think he always was meant to be a vampire bat, because he has that like the ugly nose that they have.
Yep.
And I always just thought the reason he was paired up with Screwloose is because they're both blood-sucking
bloodsuckers. Yeah.
So, yeah, say that makes sense. They're probably going to go really hard on the vampire thing with her. Yeah, well, all we really saw from her logo was just like bat wings with metal on them. So it's like that's what Wingnut always was. So I found Leatherhead's weird. Leatherhead's is like we see green scales, teeth, and then just stink fumes. It's like, I guess I never thought about it before. Like, yeah, I guess Leatherhead would smell like crap because he lives in a swamp. So like, I never really thought about that before. That would be like one of his most iconic features. I'm like, yeah, I guess he would smell horrible. I never thought about that.
Like I said, I feel like this is really going to play into the goofy aspect. You know what I mean? So again, I could see Wingnut being that over the top vampire character. I can see Leatherhead being the over the top, like Bayou character. You know what I mean? So if they're playing very cartoony sounding voices, I mean, I could easily see women doing men's voices and stuff like that. And again, a lot of times you don't even know it, because I mean, Bart Simpson's voiced by a woman, Bobby Hill voiced by a woman, you know what I mean? So if they're teenagers too, again, if the mutants are teenagers, I could definitely see that being the case as well.
You know, the weirdest one like that, not to jump back into Mario, but you know the new Super Mario Brothers games where they brought the Koopalings back as the bosses?
Yeah.
You know Morton Koopa Jr.? He's like the really big one with like the brown skin, and he has like the silver head and all. He's like, that was a woman doing his voice.
Really?
Yeah, I guess they distorted it or something, but it's like the same voice actress who did Larry or something. Most of them are done by women. I think Roy and Ludwig, maybe Iggy, are like the only ones done by men. But
never would have guessed that. Yeah. So I mean, again, that's happens more often than not. So maybe women are better voice actors than men are. Maybe they have much better range or something than that.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's. I mean, it definitely does. I could definitely see. Again, I don't think for sure the high school thing is happening, but I could see that happening, just with like the fact that they are like we're gonna have a wide selection of just fun mutants who have like a silly gimmick each, and like those could easily just be like students in a teen film. Like, you know, Seth Rogen said he loves the teenage aspect. He really wants to push that. And he's brought up Superbad in interviews about this movie. And the first thing we saw was that notebook page that looked like he was like Leonardo boarding class, like doodling. Right. So I do think the high school thing is still an option. I definitely think the Utrom character is going to be connected somehow to all this. I think either Baxter Stockman or the Utrom is going to be the villain, and one of them is going to turn out to be good fighting the other one, I think, is probably what's going to happen. Like, they could both seem like villains, and then in the end, we'll find out one's a villain and one's not. I would guess that Baxter's the villain and the Utrom isn't, because the Utroms have been good or neutral before, whereas, like, Baxter's always an asshole. So I could see Baxter being the villain and not the Utrom.
And that would make the most sense to me, because it seems like he could be kind of the person that sparks all of this. You know what I mean? Because again, he's a scientist. Maybe he invents the ooze or something like that, and that's how it all gets started.
I was thinking, actually, not to cut you off, but I was thinking he comes in, he gets a hold of the ooze, which is probably originally in possession of the Utrom, and she loses it or something.
Okay.
And he makes all these mutants. And then she's going backtracking, trying to find where he is so she can get it back. Almost like the space dudes from like Dude, Where's My Car?
Right.
Like something like that, where like one of them gets a hold of it, and you know the other one's trying to like undo the mess they made with their mistakes. So
the other interesting thing about Baxter is it looks like Baxter and Superfly are straight up different characters as well. So we're probably not going to see a Fly Baxter then if we have this other Fly character.
Yeah, because Baxter, I mean, again, his logo doesn't show anything Fly related. It just shows tech, and I think it has like green plaid, like it's probably gonna be like the shirt he wears or something. But Superfly, you look at Superfly's logo, and it's like, okay, that's Baxter Stockman. Like, it's like a purple fly with wings.
Right.
He has the big, like, reddish eyes and all. It's like, all right, that's Fly Baxter. That's exactly what he looked like. So yeah, and he's voiced by Iced Cube. And then you have Baxter. He's being voiced by what's the actor's name? He was Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian.
He's Moff Gideon, and he was in Breaking Bad too. I can't think of what his name is.
He looks like Duke Ellington, but that guy, he's a good actor. He's going to be playing it. So I can't imagine they would get rid of an actor that good and replace him with Ice Cube. Not saying Ice Cube's a bad actor, but replace him with Ice Cube halfway through a movie. So I think they are going to be separate characters. It might even be like Baxter's first mutant he makes is the Fly, kind of like as like a poetic way of doing showing homage to like Fly Baxter, maybe. So maybe he turns this guy into a fly, and that's his first mutant, and then he starts mutating everybody. But this is all speculation. I don't know anything about the movie, so.
Right? And yeah, I could definitely see that being the case, because now that we're talking more about that actor, and I definitely should have looked up his name before we did this.
Yeah,
he always plays villains, it seems like, you know what I mean? So I would be shocked now that we're talking about this if he wasn't the main antagonist of the movie. Like, I almost feel like he has to be at this point.
Yeah, especially I forget the name of the actress doing the Utrom, but she's like a comedy actress. I don't think she would be playing the villain, to be honest. I think like she's going to be more lighthearted, probably. I think Baxter's going to be the main villain. But it's going to be interesting. This is going to be our first time seeing not only Bebop and Rocksteady, but mutated Bebop and Rocksteady not working for Shredder. So like Shredder didn't mutate them this time. They're just mutated, and they're not working for Shredder. They're just kind of, I don't know, are they left to their own devices? Will some of these characters be part of their gang? Maybe like Wingnuts in their gang or something? I don't really know. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Or if maybe they are all in high school. Maybe Bebop and Rocksteady are just the bullies who pick on the turtles or something.
That's just like, I don't know. It's very hard to see Bebop and Rocksteady autonomous. You know what I mean? Because they are like, they're, what's the word I want to use? Lackeys. You know what I mean? Like they're not smart enough to be left to their own devices. Like they have to have somebody bossing them around, I feel like. So again, going back to Baxter, I could see them working for him. So yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to wrap my mind around things like Bebop and Rocksteady with no Shredder. I don't know why, but it's just so hard for me to compute that in my brain.
To be honest, I kind of feel like if there was no Shredder bossing them around, Bebop and Rocksteady probably wouldn't even be that bad. They probably just like want to drink Slurpees at 7-Eleven or something. Like they'd probably just be like Jay and Silent Bob sitting outside a store all day. Like I don't think they'd really do anything that bad. Like they might be mean to people, but I don't think they'd be like super villains. Yeah, it's going to be weird. I think, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. I could be proven wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is no Shredder and there is no Casey as like a hard effort to be like, we're doing something different this time. You've seen those characters a million times. And also they have said they want to do villain movies, which they got a lot set up if they want to. If they want to do a Wingnut and Screw Loose movie or a Leatherhead movie or whatever. Although most of the ones they're adding, like Ray Flay and Genghis Frog, are all good guys, but they could be villains in the movie. But yeah, they clearly want to continue this as like a new Turtles series. So that like lets you build up to Shredder and make him feel even more badass, I guess, if you do that. Like, you know, first we get Baxter Stockman, then maybe we get Rat King, then you get Shredder or something. So
you know what's going to happen? I'm calling it right now. Shredder is going to be the final tease of the end of the movie, and that's going to set up whatever comes next. I'm calling that right now. That's what's going to happen.
That probably will happen. Watch them completely prove us wrong, and like Lord Dreg shows up at the end or something.
I mean, dude, let's be real. We're going to be wrong about everything the closer we get to it. I mean, I already feel like my main hypothesis of the high school thing is kind of bunk right now. So
yeah. We're going to be wrong.
The more we learn, I feel like the less I'm going to feel like I know. You know what I mean?
We're going to be wrong about every single thing. Like April's 45. Bebop and Rocksteady used to be the Utrom and Baxter, but they were mutated into Bebop and Rocksteady. Like, no, I think I'm trying to like think, you know, it's just fun to think like, what are they going to do with this? Because something that's appealing about this movie is when I saw all those names written, I did get the scare that like, don't let this just be a reference movie. Where it's just like, hey, look, there's that character for a millisecond. Here's a reference to this for a millisecond. And you don't care if the movie's good or not. You're just pointing out, oh, I recognize that iconography, where I kind of feel that's how the Mario movie's going with the trailers. The first trailer got me really pumped Then the second one was like, oh, Smash Brothers and Funky Kong and Cranky Kong and Mario Kart and Rainbow Road. And like, it's like, whoa, let's just do Mario Brothers. Like, let's like stick to the story, make that good, and then you can start building on it. But I really hope they don't blow their load in this first movie. But it does also, to a certain degree, I don't know if I'm just being biased because I love Turtles and I want to see characters like Mondo Gecko and Ray Fillet in a movie. But it almost feels like when you were a kid and you were playing with your toys, you just grab a random handful of mutants and you're like, all right, these guys. And you just set up a situation with them. It's like today, Mike and Leo are teaming up with Ray Fillet and Mondo to fight Wingnut and Leatherhead. Like you just grabbed random figures. And that's almost what the movie feels like. It's like they grabbed a random handful of action figures and now they're making a story out of it. So it's kind of nostalgic in that way that like, yeah, that's what playing with Ninja Turtles felt like for me as a kid. So I don't know what
good analogy, man. That's exactly how it was, because I mean I didn't even have a Shredder action figure, you know what I mean? So I had to like play around that. Yeah, that's a pretty good thing. And again, if that's probably what it is Seth Rogen's like favorite action figures that he had as a kid. But like that's another reason I'm glad he's bringing in the Utrom, you know what I mean? Because that means at least he's read the comics and he knows a little bit. And I guess you could have watched the old card, like the 2012 series brings them in and stuff like that.
Well, they still call them the Krang in the 2012 cartoon. The 2003 cartoon did the Utrom. And then because he also could have just looked at Wikipedia, but
right. But no, IDW they play into, I mean, because Krang is Krang, but the Utroms are still Utroms in the IDW comics, but there still is a Krang in the IDW comics. So again, like I hope it is this. I mean, I don't really know what I hope for, honestly, but I don't know. I'm excited, and I just don't know really what else I want to say about it, other than I really like what I saw in the trailer, and let's kind of get back to that a little bit. Like the animation looks amazing. Like that is what's really got me hyped. And again, everybody's making the super obvious comparison. Like Spider-Verse is exactly what it looks like, and honestly, that's a smart way to go because Spider-Verse was a fucking banger. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a movie that like, I had no skin in the game going into that. I'm like, I don't know Miles Morales. You know what I mean? I haven't read a Spider-Man comic since 93. Like that's all I've read is old stuff. Like Ben Reilly was the new Spider-Man to me. You know what I mean? So I had no expectations going into that. And that was probably one of my favorite movies that I watched that year. Like it was amazing. I'm very excited for the second one. The thing that I was kind of worried about is how it is that like slower, choppier style. But this looks like it might have a little bit even higher frame rate than what Spider-Verse did, because when they're like twirling around their weapons and stuff like that, like it looks crisp. Like that's the part that really got me excited, because that's my favorite part about the 2012 show is like it gets goofy, it like has fun, but like when they get serious, like the serious part of that show is awesome. You know what I mean? Like when they get like anime version, they go wide-eyed and stuff like that. That's dope. So even if the fighting is a little bit goofier, like I don't know, just you can suck me in with the good shiny nunchuck twirling and the sword slashing and stuff like that. So like I don't know, like that's another thing that just kind of has my hopes up for this, is I feel like the action will probably be pretty good in this movie.
Yeah, I get really strong Rise vibes from it, because Rise, they had like pretty choppy animation normally. It was really cool, like very similar art style, that very like exaggerated, loose kind of like art style. But when they did action scenes in Rise, like holy crap, that they were beautiful. Like they were some of the best looking action scenes like ever in a cartoon. And that's what this kind of looks like, just like even bigger, like Hollywood budget. And yeah, I think it looks beautiful. It reminds me, since it's a little smoother, it doesn't have that super low frame rate. It kind of reminds me of, did you see the Bad Guys by DreamWorks?
Oh no.
Oh, that was pretty fun, that movie. That was a pretty good movie. It kind of like slipped under the radar.
Yeah,
but
I know that underperformed what it was supposed to. I do remember hearing about that when it came out.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, I think. But like the action scenes in that are just a ton of fun. Like the intro, like bank heist scene is fun as hell. But like, yeah, they're very expressive like that. There's like almost like glowing eyes with like the little black pupils that are like just it's a style that's definitely starting to take over Hollywood, and I'm totally fine with it because I like it so much better than the traditional semi-realistic CG that they've been doing for a while. I really like this more like, you know, exaggerated, stylized, fast, action-packed, expressive, like cartoony style. So I agree.
And I think it really hands itself well to like comic book adaptations and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I know we're never gonna go back to hand drawn animation. Like it's just never gonna happen. I feel like it kind of right. I feel like it kind of splits that line for a little bit to where it's not like you said trying to be like hyper real CGI. Like it looks like it's cartoony CGI, and I don't know. It just really speaks to me. Like I hope it does catch on, and this movie will be a huge catalyst in that too. Because then Spider-Verse was a banger. If there's another banger like that, you know that's what every movie coming out for the next 5 to 10 years is going to look like.
Yeah. When does the next Spider-Verse come out? That comes out this year also.
Soon, yeah, I know it does because they're teasing characters for that because freaking Spider-Man 2099 skyrocketed because he might be in it or something like that, I think. So
they're kind of going up against each other, probably. I think that might be coming out more around the holidays, maybe.
I bet it would be because it seems like we'd be getting something on it now, you know what I mean? And it doesn't seem like they would, but like it just doesn't seem like they would want to go up against each other, honestly. Like,
yeah,
even as confident as Sony probably is going into the second one, like, I don't know, man. I feel like the Turtles you just don't really want to go up against.
Yeah, although I'm a little scared for the Turtles because you know, Into the Spider-Verse that won an Oscar. That was like animated movie of the year. That got like huge critical response. Like this sequel is going to make a lot of money probably. So if it comes out like right around like in August, right around the same time as the Turtles, like the Turtles have proven before that when they go up against other big franchises, sometimes they don't do as well as those other big franchises. So I'm just hoping that they have enough breathing room if needed. So it could surprise me. They could come out the same month. Spider-Man could bomb and Turtles could do great. I don't know, but I want both of them to do well, basically.
And I do too. And again, I could see Spider-Man being because especially after knowing the success of the first one, like late August is not really a popular time to be putting out. Like usually your summer blockbuster is like right on the line of June and July, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's kind of that downfall. And then going into the holiday season is when you kind of start back up with those like powerhouse movies. So like you said, I could kind of see that being a fall movie, but regardless, I don't know. I think this movie is going to do very well in theaters. Like I've said this before. I'm not somebody that ever wants to go see movies day one, weekend one, even. And this one, I absolutely will go see the opening weekend for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely going to. Also, it's Turtles. Turtles, I'll always go see. Like, I guess there's more I could say about the movie, but I guess we got to move on. Got to talk about the toys that they showed for the movie. Real quick, the last thing I want to say about the trailer. I know it was like a rap remix, but Lou Reed, Walk on the Wild Side, that was a risque song to be playing in a Turtles trailer. That kind of surprised me. Lou Reed, really? For the Ninja Turtles? But anyway, yeah, there was a lot of toys showing off recently. Not just like the action figures we saw. We saw like sewer layer play set. We saw the turtle van. We saw like a motorcycle. Like it looks real. This is what Playmates should have been doing. They didn't hear us, but they listened to us, and they are doing basically what I was asking them to do, or at least it looks that way for now.
So I agree. We 100%. I mean, I don't know if we owe Playmates an apology by any means, but for as much bitching as we've done about modern Playmates lately, like they are doing exactly what they should be doing. Just like you said, like figures, vehicles, play sets. Like that's what Playmates should be doing because that's just the trifecta that built that toy line. Like, and the stuff looks good and fun. Like if I was a kid, I would be stoked on this stuff again. You know what I mean? Like it does. And they're very smart to go with the pizza thrower aspect too. You know what I mean? Because that does such a good job of tying the old toys in with the new toys. And again, sticking to that 4.5-inch scale, super smart, fit them in with the others. Like I feel like that was the 2012 line's biggest downfalls. The figures were just out of the scale, and they don't fit in well. Like the 2012 show, they're pretty much in the same scale. The Rise figures were in the same scale, and it's smart they're sticking with that. I think they learned their lesson there. The one thing I noticed by looking at the promo pictures, I'm pretty sure I've seen two different head sculpts for Leo. There's one where he's smiling a little bit more, and then one with that more like slash kind of grin. So I don't know if there's multiple Leo figures that are going to be coming because it definitely didn't look like there's two head sculpts in the pack. So I don't know maybe if we'll get figures with the vehicles or what.
Yeah, we could very well get them with the vehicles. I remember even for Out of the Shadows, they had like Bebop and Rocksteady alt where they had like helmets on. They came with their motorcycles and stuff. Yep. I don't know about that, honestly. They could just make alternate ones that have action features or something like the vintage line, because there is a giant raft that they showed off. Yep. They're doing giant turtles for these movie turtles. So they're really going all in on like, we're really redoing the style of the old toy line, but with these modern versions of the characters. Even the motorcycle they had has the little like passenger seat. It's like a trash can on the side. It's like the vintage figure. So I'm really
very excited. Good homage there. That's the one thing that stood out to me too, other than the pizza van, like that just, or the party wagon that they have, like that just really, like I said, they're doing a very good job of bringing the old in, but making it different enough to where it's like, yeah, I recognize that, but it looks like something new.
Yeah, exactly. Even the turtle van has a giant pizza on top. The turtle van looks awesome. I love the way that turtle van looks.
It's fun, man.
The motorcycle looks like, I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I'll wait, until like, because if I end up hating this movie, I don't want to collect a bunch of toys for a movie that I hate. It's like, right. I don't really want that around. But even if this movie ends up being like, okay, like I liked it, but it's not the greatest thing ever, I'm probably still going to get all these toys because these toys look freaking awesome. And they're probably only going to be like, $14 tops or something. So, I mean,
dude, I bet the figures are going to come in. I bet the figures will be $12.99 at like Target, and I bet they'll be like $9.99 at Walmart, like the vintage figures are right now, pretty much. Like, and again, I understand those are old molds that they're reusing, but Playmates has done a pretty good job at keeping their stuff at good price points. Like, the thing that shocks me is the re-release of the Party Wagon. Like, I cannot believe they sold that for $35, honestly. Like, I'm very, very shocked they kept that at a good price point. So I bet the new Party Wagon probably will be $39.99, maybe $49.99. Again, it has the action features. It can shoot the pizzas and stuff like that. But Playmates does do a good job of not overpricing their stuff. I would say maybe those 12-inch or the 6-inch figures we always rag on, those are probably a little bit overpriced. But like, as far as their 4.5-inch scale stuff goes, they've done a really good job. And like you said, my biggest fear is that I'm going to go like all in on this play line or all in on this toy line, get all this stuff. And then 2 years later, like, I'm going to be like, I don't care about any of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm afraid it is just kind of the hype. So I'm going to kind of see more how I feel once I see the stuff in stores. But yeah, that's one thing. Like you said, I don't want to get like over into this line and then just not really have, because that's one thing. I've bought a lot of things and have sold a lot of things because there's things that I like in the moment and I like them for a while, but then after a while, I'm just like, this just doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean? Like, why do I have this on my shelf? So like, I thought about that as well. Actually, earlier today, I was thinking about that same exact thing.
Yeah, I've done, not to the level you have, but I've done that too. I remember I had like a Figma Samus from Metroid figure for a while. And I love Metroid, but it's like I had that figure for a while, and I had like this, not the vintage Earthworm Jim figure, but like this like one they made in the 2010s real quick. It was made out of real cheap plastic and stuff, but I had those for a while. At some point I just sold them at a convention because I'm like, I'm not gonna keep, like, these don't have any attachment to me. These aren't like toys I had as a kid. They don't like represent the specific games I love or anything. They're just things I had because, for 1 year, maybe I got really back into Metroid or something, and I just bought some Metroid crap. So yeah, I've been there too. I had these like cheap, like bootleg figures of like Mario characters, because there was like a Mario toy line in the 2010, which I sold a lot of those too. It was really small. It was like 5 characters. And then there was like a bootleg company making like characters they didn't make, and I bought some of those, and they looked like shit. But hey, some guys at the convention were happy to buy them, so I just sold a bunch of my toys at a convention once because I was like, I have a bunch of crap here. Actually, and I sold like some old like PlayStation games I didn't want and stuff. So, yeah, these might end up being that, a couple years from now, or even a year from now, even maybe like 2 months after the movie's out. Who knows? So yeah, I'm gonna wait till I see them in stores. If I have that bug, I feel that bug, like, oh, I need to buy these, like these look so cool, then I'll probably buy the ones I care most about. And if I really like those and want more, then I'll start collecting it.
Hi, this is April O'Neil, Channel 6 News, and you're watching the Party Wagon Podcast. So cool.
All right, so getting into our meat and potatoes for this podcast. So we want to talk about NECA, but specifically we want to talk about the NECA toon line for this. So we could probably fill 5 hours talking about NECA in general. So we want to try to keep it a little bit more focused. And right now is, I feel like, just a really good time to talk about the toon line, because clearly there's a lot going on, like a lot of good, a lot of bad. It's Haulathon season. It's always just a crazy, I mean, there's only been 2 of them, but yeah, it's just a crazy time of the year. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So basically, I just kind of want to start off, and I'm probably going to repeat things that I've said in other videos that I've made and stuff like that. But the NECA toon line, to me, it's the main line that I collect. Like, I collect a lot of lines, but I'd say that's where my number one focus is. I think it's not just my favorite line, it's like the deepest. I think it's the most exciting, and it's a line that just keeps getting better and better as it goes on. Maybe not in the characters that are coming out, because now we're starting to get into the deep cuts and stuff like that, but just in the few years that this line has been going, like, the quality in the figures, I mean, it's just greatly risen. And a lot of lines that I've started collecting, like, I've kind of fell out of love a little bit with. And I mean, there's some things that I don't even collect anymore, but the NECA toon line is not even anywhere near in jeopardy of that. Like, it's still the line that I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, I would agree that it's my number one, like, collection at the moment, like current collection. Because, you know, I love the Super 7 one, and I have a more complete Super 7 collection than I do a NECA collection. But NECA has so many more figures and so many more exclusives and stuff. It's a great. There's no. I think even if it's not your thing, even if you didn't grow up with the '87 cartoon, I do think that as a toy collector, you can't deny, like, how awesome this is. It's sort of like Motu Classics. If you didn't collect He-Man, you didn't collect Motu Classics, just as a collector, you could look at it and be like, "That's awesome," because you so rarely get these toy lines that just get every deep cut character and just get, like, they really do a complete set. Like, eventually, I doubt there will be any notable character from the cartoon that we don't have a figure for, because it's just going so strong. It's just awesome. Like I said, like, even if you weren't collecting it, you got to just look at it and be like, "That's awesome, man." Because you know, people like us have been waiting 30 years for some of these figures, longer than 30 years for some of these figures, and we're finally getting them. So it really is like a dream come true line. And like you said, you just look at the quality of each year. They just get better and better. I mean, like, something like Usagi, that's like the best Usagi Yojimbo figure ever made, in my opinion.
I feel like that's probably like one of the most unanimously awesome figures of last year. Like, I don't know anybody that didn't put that figure, like, most people had it as their number one figure, and I pretty much, if it wasn't for extreme bias, he would have been my number one figure as well. And I'm already very biased towards Usagi, but I mean, the Ronin is just a very important character to me. Even just looking at the first Turtles that came out compared to the second Turtles that came out, like, it's night and day different. The quality, like, the first ones, you're like, yeah, those look like the cartoon characters, but the second Turtles that came out, you're like, holy shit, those really look like the cartoon characters.
I was even like, you know, I was doing the grueling task of yesterday of dusting my toy room. That's always a nightmare. Right. I got everything done, actually, except for the vintage shelf behind me right here. That bookshelf, nice. That's the worst one to do. That's a pain in the ass. But
do you actually take everything off when you dust, or do you just try to dust around stuff?
I purposely don't dust that often because it's such a grueling task. And the way I have them set up, they're so tightly together, it would be so hard to dust around that I just take them all off and dust.
Okay, that's what I always do too, because I like to dust the shelf as well. Yeah, and like that, it takes so much longer to do one shelf than you ever think it would. Like, it is like you said, like, it is a nightmare. Now I've kind of gotten to the point where, like, I'm resetting by section, so then when I reset, I'll clean everything then too. So that's kind of helped me out a little bit, is not doing everything at once, just doing a little bit now, a little bit later and stuff like that. But yeah, my NECA, my Turtles section is always the hardest to reset far and away, because now I'm in space danger bad. And I mean, I was thinking about that. Like, this is the year where I'm literally going to have to make decisions. I'm not going to be able to display everything I want after we get, I mean, even just the figures from Haulathon coming, like, I mean, it's going to be, I'm going to have to reset my display again to pack everything in. So
yeah, me too. I've been worrying about that too. I'm looking at my shelves. I'm like, all right, Mona Lisa can go there. I can squeeze Lotus there. I can put Dirk up there. But I'm like, oh wait, where the hell's Rex 1 gonna go? Like, that guy's freaking huge. I'm like, oh, where are Bebop and Rocksteady's gang gonna go? Like, I'm really running out of space. But yeah, so as I was saying before I started talking about the dusting, though, I was dusting and I'm doing the villain shelf. And I'm looking at the Bebop and Rocksteadies. There were early figures in the line. I'm like, I don't want to disrespect them. They were really cool when they came out, but like, these look pretty bad now, actually. And I was like the regular Bebop and Rocksteadies, you compare them to the figures we're getting now. Like you can, like I said once in our, in another video we did, another podcast that we did, you compare them to Ground Chuck and Dirtbag, and like Ground Chuck and Dirtbag are such better figures. Like the Bebop and Rocksteady ones, like their proportions aren't really accurate to the cartoon and stuff. And like they're just kind of a bit more generic action figures. I feel like Rocksteady's face is not as expressive as the faces are now and stuff. And like they're good figures. They were great for the time, but I just think like now they've gotten so much better that even if you just look at like the Mighty Hog and Rhino Man, they look so much better than the original Bebop and Rocksteady. But we'll talk about Haulathon later. I still don't have any in my possession.
Speaking of those figures real quick, have you seen that? Because I haven't opened up my Rhino Man and Mighty Hog yet, but they're smaller than the original figures. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
They're a little bit shorter and squatter, which makes sense because by that point in the show, that's when they were typically getting drawn a little bit smaller. I mean, there's times where later they were about the size of the turtles at times, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it would make sense why they're kind of going that direction. And again, it's also cool that we're getting new bucks. You talked about how, I mean, we're probably going to get every character in at some point soon, and it's probably going to start with that April. It's already started with the turtles. We're going to start getting, I think we're going to get a new Shredder soon. I think we'll get a new Bebop and Rocksteady regular version soon because their new stuff is just night and day different. And I mean, like, I don't think the Bebop and Rocksteady look quite as bad as you do, but I feel like if we got a new Bebop and Rocksteady, I would be like, oh yeah, holy shit, this looks so much better, just like I do with the Turtles. Because again, before, I didn't think the Turtles look bad by any means, but now that I have the new Turtles, I'm like, these Turtles look way better.
I just think they're a lot better at like capturing the personality of the character in the face and stuff now than they used to be. And honestly, I didn't notice quite how not great their Bebop and Rocksteady looked until I forget what company made them. These big statues about that big out of a Bebop and Rocksteady that were being sold at a GameStop for a bit. They did the 4 Turtles, Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, and Shredder. And those look amazing. Those look like really, really damn good. And it wasn't until I got those, they give, Rocksteady is shorter than Bebop. He has squatter legs and all. He's like a little wider and and you just see them in the NECA line. They look like they're the same height. They have the same length legs. They're the kind of just the same build. And it just really drove home like, oh, these could look a lot better. Even the coloration, like the gray is really dark on Rocksteady in the cartoon. It's not quite dark enough on the toy and stuff. And I know that's being really geeky and nitpicky, but
I mean, what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would like him to, because I do think that's something they do a lot in the Toon line, especially early on, where like characters were very pale. The colors were a little like pale. I think they're making them a little deeper now. They're making them a little more like saturated and all. Which is good.
Their paint is just better. And maybe that's kind of what gives, because those older figures kind of just had that like, it's more like it's not like a glossy paint. It's like kind of a little bit flatter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like dry almost, where the new figures feel a little bit more, I don't know, rubbery. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. Like, it's maybe more of like a silicone based paint that they're using now or something.
That's exactly how I felt, because when I first started collecting this line, I actually had more complaints about it than I do now. I was like, I said that exactly. They felt really dry. They felt kind of brittle. They felt like if you just like scratched them, like they would just flake apart into like pieces. And now they feel a lot more sturdy. They feel like you said, they feel like, I don't want to say moist. That's kind of weird, but they
know what I mean? Like it just, yeah.
They're a little more like rubbery. They have a little more like, a little more give to them. They don't just like the old ones. They did snap so easily. I mean, I remember earlier figures, taking them out of the package, the things would just break right off of them. So the only one I had that problem with in the past over a year was the Rock Soldier Infantryman. A part of him snapped off. But aside from that, the figures have been much better recently. And, we got little guys like the Neutrinos who are like twigs. And you'd think if any figure was going to break, it would be those guys. But I had no problems with the Neutrinos. They look awesome. They pose awesome. They move great. It's like nothing snapped or anything on those guys when I took them out.
The neutrinos, I don't know. I feel like they're like one of the, well, first of all, it comes in a 3-pack, which is the only thing that did like that, but they are just so unique. You know what I mean? Like their bodies are so teeny, their heads are so big. I've had mine on the hoverboards the whole time. I'm assuming you have to use the stands to get them to stand up without the hoverboards. But yeah, I mean, those guys, I definitely have a little bit of, I think Kala, her black outlines aren't as crisp as they could be. Like you said, they're just so much better at capturing like the expressions of the characters. And again, I know I keep going back to this, but that's how the turtles look for me now. Like the original ones now just kind of look like they're just a little bit more dead in the face. Like, and they all kind of look the same, to where the new ones, it does, like you see like the life in their eyes, and I don't know what it is, but like that's how I feel more so with the new characters. Is like you said, you just look at them and it seems a little bit more like you're looking at the cartoon and a little bit less like you're looking at a toy of the cartoon.
Yeah, those original turtles, they did look pretty dead in the face. They almost had like, they almost gave the same impression that like the Wacky Action Turtles in the vintage line kind of did, where they had the pupils and the eyes, but they just kind of had those like kind of like half-assed expressions. Where the new ones feel more like, I mean, they don't look like the crazy Storage Shell ones, but the way the Storage Shell Turtles were so expressive, they're kind of like that kind of upgrade. And about the cowl, I do have to agree. I was actually just thinking that when I was dusting yesterday. It's like, I still hate this outline on her hair here. I wish it wasn't there, because it's really like blobby on mine. It's not
mine is like that too. Her and Zach is the other one where I kind of have like around his mask is a little bit crappy there too. And I mean,
Zach the fifth turtle, not Zach the neutrino.
Zach the turd man, whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. The turd.
There's two Zachs.
Yeah.
So.
Which, that always drove me nuts too, and I don't know why, but like they could have named that kid any other thing. But like you said, you've snapped a couple figures, and that's another thing that NECA has really gotten a bad rap about, is bad QC issues. And other than the paint apps, like, I hate saying it out loud, I'm gonna knock on wood right now, I've never broken a joint on a NECA figure before, and like every time I say it, terrorizes me, because it just scares me, because I know I'm jinxing myself and eventually it's going to happen to me. But it's mostly just that off paint issues that I've gotten. And it's always on the head sculpts for whatever reason too. Like all the body paint and stuff is usually good, but it's those dark lines on the head, and it's always around the eyes or the hair, that always just seem like there's just runs or something that come off the straight line.
Yeah. I don't know if I've had any. I had some really bad paint issues on my Android body Krang. Like he has like, you turn around in the back, there's like a giant red gash on his like shoulder blades.
Oh, damn.
It looks really bad. But I mean, I don't display his shoulder blades, but I know a lot of people, they had a problem with like Rat King's diaper thingy, because it's like a little like pliable. So if you bend it, like the paint just chipped off and it was like pink underneath for some reason. I didn't have that problem. I haven't had a joint break on a NECA figure. Super 7, yeah, I have, but I've had 2 joints break on 2 different figures. Damn. Not counting the tripod breaking for Krang. So I had 3 major parts of characters break. But NECA, it's more like I get accessories break, or I
have broken a couple accessories,
Yeah, my movie Leonardo, his katana blade broke coming out of the package. Or I think it was actually that one broke coming out of the package. My Mutagen Man's like elbow thing, I think, was broken already in the package. Like that little like thing he has sticking off his elbow was just snapped off. Like I said, I had the Rock Soldier, like his knuckle broke off just from falling over. Like it just like just skid right off of his arm. I know I've had a few other like accessories. Oh, my Bride of Frankenstein, April, her microphone thing broke. For the most part, I don't have that many issues. Again, knock on wood. I might get, Mona Lisa and take her out of the package and her whole leg comes off or something, but I haven't had that problem so far. So, very fortunate. I have to say real quick, thank you very much, because we agreed we were going to like spot each other during Haulathon. If we saw something the other person needed, we're going to pick it up, send it to them. The other person sends the money. And you were kind enough to get the accessory pack and the Mona Lisa and Dirk Savage 2-pack for me. So I can't wait to get those. It's going to be awesome. So.
Yeah, so hopefully I should be able to get those shipped out this weekend. But yeah, again, I don't know if this is a good time to roll into this, but I hit my target on the day everything that everything went out and I got first dibs, and man,
You
that
got
was such
so
a good
lucky.
feeling. Like I just can't even explain to you. And when it happened, I'm just like, so many other people are going to show up right now. And again, I'm kind of going all over the place right here, but I know you're not on Facebook, but did you happen to see that video of those two guys getting in a fight at a Target over Turtles figures?
Oh no, I didn't.
So I haven't watched it because I just can't watch stuff like that. Like I'm at the point in my life where I can't watch cringe things anymore, and I just know
Yeah.
how it's gonna be. But yeah, this is causing some craziness, and it is just we knew this is what we were gonna be in for. We saw it coming from a mile away, and there is a little bit of some good news on the horizon. It looks like they are restocking and stuff like that, but I can't think of a line other than G.I. Joe Classified and this has gone on even longer, that just we're getting into the deep cuts and people are still rabid for this stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is my favorite line. I think this is a lot of people's favorite lines.
I think most people would agree. Definitely for Turtles, this is the biggest line. Like, no, bar none, like no comparison. Yeah, we're getting into like F-list characters because, I already said who the A-list characters are. Then you have like, the B-list characters like Baxter, Leatherhead, Rat King. Then you got your C-list characters who are maybe like, Usagi, Mondo Gecko, Ray Fillet. Then you got your D-list ones who are like your Ground Chucks, your Dirtbags. I say like maybe Mona Lisa's like a D-list. She would probably go into the D-list one. Maybe Lotus also, but actually probably Rex 1 too. But after that, it's like you're getting into E-list and F-list characters. Like the thugs are F-list characters.
Oh, yeah.
Those are like they appear mutated in one shot in the original show. Like I know they were in the Archie comics, but they appear in one shot in the animated show. Most people do not know those characters even exist.
And so the thing that I didn't even think about, like, people are doubling up on those packs too,
Yeah.
because they come with the completely separate body sculpt. So you can have the mutated version and the human version. So they're F-list characters that are selling doubles to a lot of people, which again is that just shows you, like, I don't know what it is about Turtles. Like, and again, Rex is a perfect example. Mona Lisa is a perfect example. And I've said this before, like, they were only in one episode, but because they were episodes that I had on VHS and I saw so much, like, they seem like they're such a bigger deal to me than they are. Like, it's weird that it is this far down the line that we are getting these characters. But I mean, if somebody didn't have that nostalgia that I have, they would be F-list characters. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think Mona Lisa gets a little more because she had an action figure back in the day.
Yep.
It came later, but she did have an action figure. And then now it's like, they've brought her back in a lot of versions of Turtles where like Rex 1 has never come back. So I think Mona Lisa is more recognizable for that sake, but I think Rex 1's a little more recognizable because if you watch the 87 cartoon, you may not have been watching anymore when Mona Lisa showed up, but you saw that Rex 1 episode. So I think they're both kind of in the same tier because while Mona Lisa got more material, Rex 1 was, a more widely watched episode of the show. So yeah, I would say both those ones are D-list, but it is crazy. Yeah, they're in like one episode. And I'm still mad. I learned when I grew up that there were plans to bring Mona Lisa back in future episodes. And then they scrapped all those seasons and did the Red Sky seasons instead. Because they were like, oh, Turtles isn't popular anymore. We need to change this up. And I'm like, no, you were going to bring her back and then you just scrapped it all. I'm going to be getting that figure. And, I've been talking about that figure a lot since my YouTube channel went up. She's been like my most wanted figure after we got like Leatherhead. I was like, oh, once I saw Granitor, I was like, okay, we're getting everybody. If we're getting Granitor, we're getting everybody in this line. So I was just like, when's Mona Lisa? When's Mona Lisa? And I will say the Mona Lisa fan base is pretty rabid. Like we're small, but there's a lot. Like we're passionate, I guess. It's like if the 2012 show was out, every time those dudes had a panel at a con, there was always people asking, when's Mona Lisa coming? When's Mona Lisa? And then they did this big reveal for Mona Lisa. I remember watching it on a video, like when it was happening. I'm just like, they show it. It takes everyone a little while. Then everyone starts cheering because then they had the same thing I was. I'm like, who the hell is that? And then like, once you think about it, like, oh, I guess that's Mona Lisa. So, but yeah, like even when the NECA toys came out, like a lot of people were saying like, when's Mona Lisa? When's Mona Lisa? When Shredder's Revenge came out, like the like later that week, I saw like fan sprites of a fake fake leaked fan sprite of playable Mona Lisa. So it's like, she is a big character despite being in one episode. I mean, Wingnut and Screwloose were in one episode. They were in the Archie comics, but they were in one episode also and stuff. So she definitely has a legacy. A lot of us remember her. I think a lot of them, like me, probably had crushes on her when they were kids. But yeah, she's just been a big character for I think a lot of people, even though she's not as generally popular as something like Mondo Gecko or, I can't say Ray Fillet because he's not in this line, but I kept saying for a while that the figure looked bad. I'm kind of bummed about the Mona Lisa figure. But shout out to a channel I found recently called Gnarly Wolfman 88. And they do like a ton of Turtles toys. They've done all the Haulathon toys. And, they talk about like just action figures, and they talk about like movies. They do some horror movies, and they actually liked the Rob Zombie Monsters movie like I did. So I just been like watching all their videos recently, and they do like fun stuff where they'll just play with the toys like on in the video during the review. They'll cut to like them playing with the toys and voicing them all and stuff and doing jokes. But yeah, the way they shot the Mona Lisa one, like up close, they got really good shots, good lighting. I'm like, actually, this figure looks really good. So now I'm actually really hyped for the Mona Lisa figure, because after watching that video, I'm like, this looks actually pretty darn good. I still think the arms could have been a little thicker. Like the midsection could have been a little bigger. Like she's kind of bobbleheady. She looks pretty good, actually. I'd say the expressions when you see them up close actually look pretty darn good. When I first saw the expression in the screenshot, I was like, she looks like a Fraggle, like from like Fraggle Rock or something. But seeing her up close, she actually looks pretty good. Yeah, she looked like Rayman from like the first PlayStation Rayman or something. But yeah, she looks good though, up close. So now I'm actually really hyped to get this. And even though I have no nostalgic connection to Dirk Savage, that figure looks really cool. So I'm pretty.
Yeah, that's a really cool set. That was the hardest one because again, I'm having to pick this stuff apart. Like I do not have the $500 to drop it once right now. So the first things that I got were the accessory set, black and white Usagi. I got the Rhino Man and Mighty Hog. And then I got the Lotus in Chaka or Chaka. Or can I ever say his damn name right? Chakahachi. Is that it?
Tamagotchi.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's
I got that one when it went up online the next week. But then I have your set with Mona Lisa, and yes, both those figures look great. Like
awesome.
It is her body is just a little bit teeny, but other than that, I mean, like you said, her facial expressions look very, very good. I'm very excited to get that set as well. And I there's a couple reasons why I feel like she's such a like I said, low key popular character. For one, there's not a lot of not annoying females on the Turtles. You know what I mean? Like Irma is like, everybody loves Irma, you know what I mean? But like, she's not like, I don't know. She's not fun. She's not kick-ass. April is kind of fun. And she has her moments and stuff like that. But Mona Lisa, she just shows up and she's fucking as rad as Raph is, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's kind of what her edge was, is like, there wasn't anything annoying about her. Like she was just cool. And also going on what you said, yeah, I definitely had a crush on her when I was a kid too. You know what I mean? When I think of that show again, I think of Zach and I think of his freaking sister, Caitlin. You know what I mean? Like they just had so many annoying characters on that show that when you get one that's not annoying at all, like I think that's what like really makes them stand out.
Yeah, that's true. I never really thought about that. Most of the other female characters are kind of like whiny and annoying to a certain degree. Like I love Irma, but as a little kid, I hated her. I hated her.
Now I find her shtick hilarious. Honestly.
Yeah, especially like how thirsty she is, how she's like coming out exactly and stuff. I think that stuff just went over my head as a kid.
Right.
But yeah, like Mona Lisa, the episode's literally called Raphael Meets His Match. Like she's just as snarky with the comebacks. She's just as badass and stuff. And she was just a really fun, like, cute character. She was cute and snarky and badass. And it makes sense why she was, a crush for a lot of us. And the 90s, like, they made a lot of furries in the 90s. Animators, like, they were just making so many animal characters that people were attracted to. There was like, I know, even like the late 80s, there was like Gadget from Rescue Rangers and like Lola Bunny and all that. Like there was animators were like furries were not being supervised in animation back then. And there was a lot of characters back then that was like, okay, yeah, that's I think even the people who would be ashamed to acknowledge that they like an inhuman character would be like, okay, that character's hot. like Lola Bunny, everyone was like, okay, yeah, I'll give you that. But
well, I mean, it's just cartoon stuff in general. Like, I mean, I told you the one time about freaking Beetlejuice. Like, thought Lydia was super hot. Like, I think that's what like made me attracted to goth chicks was her and stuff like that. It was cartoon characters in general. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're a kid, like, I don't know. It's just the way your mind works.
Yeah, I mean, a cartoon is like you take physically pleasing traits and focus exactly on those traits and exaggerate them or something. So it's like it kind of does just amplify what you would like about a certain character's design, I guess. And I don't remember where I was really getting with Mona Lisa.
I don't know. I think you just really like talking about Mona Lisa, man.
I just find
excuses. Fill 60 minutes just talking on Mona Lisa.
Yeah, I just find excuses to talk about Mona Lisa, I guess. But I guess this will bring us into, with all the Haulathon stuff, this will bring us into a discussion about the main thing I don't like about the NECA Toon line, and that is the distribution of the NECA Toon line. For one, the whole line is exclusively at Target. I hate Target. I don't know. I don't know about you. I just don't like Target. Like I end up going there so much now because of Turtles, but I'm not a big Target guy. I feel like anything you could find at Target, you can find cheaper at Walmart. And I still like to support mom and pop places and stuff. Like I don't like to just go to Target for everything. Like, yeah, I know it's cheaper to get your groceries at Target, but they're also really crappy groceries. But so yeah, like I don't like going to Target that often, especially when it's always just disappointing. And Haulathon has just really driven that home. Like there's been days where recently, because the past 2 weeks, there's like I think 6 different Targets that I've been checking regularly. Some more than others, but like each of those I've checked like 3 or 4 times each in like the past 2 weeks. Like I have a problem. And at some point it just hits you and you're doing it. Every time you're just getting disappointed. Even when I go there, I'm like, they're not going to be there. I know they're not going to be there. What am I doing? You still get disappointed when they're not there. And at some point you just feel like curse you, NECA. Like you start saying like, fuck this line. I'm not collecting this line anymore. These are fucking toys. I don't care about toys and all this shit. You just like you just get pissed in the moment. And then it's by the time I go home, I'm like, man, I really want those toys. But even when they went up for sale on the website, it was while I was sleeping, like in between shifts at work. Cause I work like 16-hour overnight shifts sometimes in the week and stuff. So when I go home, I'm out. So I was out and it was like on a Friday. And by the time I woke up, everything was sold out. So it's like, it just bugs me that they make it so hard to get these figures, that this has been, again, like their most popular line of anything they make for the past like 3 years. Yet, we were talking about this before we started the video. I love Alf. I bought the Alf NECA Ultimate figure like 3 weeks ago. It's fantastic. It's a great figure. But holy crap, like people do not collect Alf that much. They have overstocked Targets with these Alf figures for Haulathon. Alf and E.T. And E.T. is huge, but like these figures are not moving. There's just a ton of them. But these Turtles figures, like with the first 5 minutes they go up, they're gone. It just makes me think, like, why not just stock more of them? Why not just produce double what you're going to produce originally? Because it will sell. We've seen that it will sell. And when they just make a few of them and people rush out and buy them for retail price, then flip them on eBay for like $300, NECA doesn't see a penny of that. So NECA's not really doing themselves any good by stocking these, under developing these. So, I've been looking around on eBay just in case, I don't catch the restocks. And the cheapest you can get a lot of these 2-packs on eBay right now are like $85. So that's just going to keep going up, that price. And some of them people are charging insane prices. Like, oh, you can get 3 of the 2-packs out right now for only $370. Like, yeah, you can go fuck yourself, dude. But I just wish they would stock this stuff better. And Haulathon as a whole, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to call out NECA. This is not like a challenge. I'm not like, I'm going to kick your asses. No, I love your product. I love NECA's product. But Haulathon is a dick move. I'm sorry. That's just a dick move right there. And like, this is like a year's worth of product being put out, not even in the same month, on the same day, the exact same day. An entire year's worth of a line is coming out at once. And to me, that's just inconsiderate towards your fan base. Like, you're just not, thinking about the fact that we have to buy all of this stuff, and that we're not going to be able to find most of this stuff. And it just seems like they have, they put out a commercial last Haulathon that kind of said a little bit about what they think of their fan base. They're like, oh, you're just living in your mom's basement. You don't have a job. You're just, just some loser who just has disposable income that they can spend on toys. It's like, no, your main audience for this toy line are like 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, like people in their 30s and 40s who, we work a full-time job. We're paying for our own place. Like, we're passionate about this stuff. So we try to put aside enough money to be able to collect this stuff. And they don't put it out in like an older collector friendly manner. They put it out like they're dropping a $10 wave of toys for kids. And I don't think that's fair, because again, like, I might not get anything other than the ones that you bought, like from this whole thing. I might have to get them all on the aftermarket, because if the restocks go as fast as the first stocks, then I'm not going to get any of these. I still haven't gotten Toka and Razar from last year. I'm just worried that, like, I'm never going to get a chance to get, Lotus and Chakahachi. I'm never going to get a chance to get Mighty Hog and Rhino Man. Like, I might never get a chance to get those in store from NECA themselves. So I really wish they just, spaced it out, maybe 2 a month. Like, maybe put out the Chakahachi and Lotus 2-pack and the Usagi this month. Then next month, put out Zog and the Mona Lisa and Dirk Savage. Then Rhino Man and Mighty Hog with, the Red Ronin or something. And just do it like that, or maybe with Rex 1. Do it like that and just kind of like, space it out so that people can, like, in a normal, healthy, practical way, just collect the line a little bit each month. But no, NECA's just like nothing, boom, everything. And I really hate that strategy. Like, it's just, I've been bummed out so many times in the past couple of weeks. I'm probably coming off really negative, but it's because I love this line so much and I want these figures so bad. But it just feels like NECA doesn't want my money. Like, NECA doesn't want to give me these figures and get money from me. So I'm going to have to end up buying them on the aftermarket or something, probably.
I don't want to come off sounding like a shill at all here, but from NECA's end, I'm sure they're at the point now too where they're probably almost shocked at how hyped this line still is getting into all these low tier characters. You know what I mean? To where, like, they're seeing because clearly there is a saturation limit, and Super 7 has found that, you know what I mean? Where Super 7 figures are about 50% on the aftermarket of what you buy them for originally, essentially, you know what I mean? So coming from a business standpoint, they're being a lot more intelligent about it, I feel like, than Super 7 is, because there is no NECA figures that really sell for under retail, you know what I mean? Like, they have not cheapened their brand at all. And the thing that I just keep harping on is you just have to be patient with this line, because eventually they're going to put more out. Like, NECA, they don't want to miss out on money. Like you said, if something is selling for twice as much on the third party market, that doesn't do anything for them. You know what I mean? They don't see any of that profit. So why wouldn't they want to put more of them out? And I feel like they're just always in a situation where they don't want to get burned. And even just like this Haulathon stuff, like, look how much stuff is going out and look how fast it's going. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it was an entire shelf packed with NECA stuff gone in days. And I'm lucky enough to where I live in, like I said, I live in a bubble where my Target, if I go there regularly, I can pretty much end up getting whatever I want. Like, nobody in the area is definitely as dedicated to the hunt as I am. So I am lucky in that aspect where I don't live in a metropolitan area. I mean, I would have to drive. It would take me an entire day to get to 6 different Targets. You know what I mean? Like, that would be a day for me. From a consumer standpoint, yes, it's terrible. Like, I mean, the spacing it out, like, that's just the thing that is inexcusable. We don't need to do these events. Like, they're so unnecessary. Like, they do nothing. Like, just space out the product, because again, like, I want to buy all the stuff, but I just cannot afford to buy $500 worth of figures in 1 week. Like, that's my month plus budget. Probably. I don't ever actually pay attention to what I spend, but I mean, I would assume $500 in a month would be an extremely expensive month for me if I was in that case. It's like a Super 7 wave month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, it does suck, but I know, like, and again, like, the Token Razar hasn't been put back up, but they pretty much have came around on every set other than the Casey and Foot Soldier and then the April and Foot Soldier. Everything else has been re-released at one point or another. And
have they for Super Bebop and Mighty Rocksteady?
Super Bebop and Mighty,
the robots?
No, they haven't yet. But again, that's still, I mean, at this point, that wasn't even a year ago, because I think Haulathon was a little bit later in the year. Last year, I think it was like maybe late March or something like that, into
so,
April.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it hasn't even been an entire year. And that's the other thing that's been a lot different about this Haulathon, is the last one was a pretty good mix of old figures in with the new figures. And this one was just all new figures. Like you said, I mean, I bet this was Q1 and Q2's figures pretty much. Like, it was pretty much everything other than the only thing that hasn't been shown that was shown at Comic-Cons was the really beefed up Genghis.
The Napoleon, yeah.
Or Napoleon, yeah. That figure hasn't been shown. And then the two, like, Space Usagi and the Space Donatello. Like, other than that, everything pretty much got put out at this Haulathon.
Yeah, basically. I think, other than, like, from the Archie Dreadmon didn't come out. But aside from that, like, some of the comics.
Oh, no, Dreadmon has been out he came out week 2, so he's been showing up places. He was gone at my store today. I saw all the plushies and the other crap that's out right now, but I could see the area where he was sitting and it was wiped out.
Oh man, so never mind. I stand corrected. They are blowing their load on everything. That's just my problem, really. It's just like, I know business is business. I don't understand business, but I can't justify their release schedules with this Haulathon stuff, because Haulathon last year was bad. Haulathon left me wounded, and even then I didn't get everything.
Well, because last year it wasn't even just Haulathon; it was also NECA continuously dropping very expensive things on their site as well, like the Secret of the Use 4-pack. The Party Wagon, and I think there's some other things that they released the Mousers to kick things off with, and you could only get them on their site. So it was Haulathon on top of what they were doing, this kind of seems to be the pattern, to where they just hit really hard, like right on the border of Q1 and Q2, and then they kind of go silent, and then we'll get another big hit. So I don't know why they do it like that, to where they could have got all these figures now. They could have spread this out till summer, and then summer started with the new stuff. Like you said, that's the one thing I can't even justify from a business standpoint, is just dropping it all at once. But other than the fact that it is all selling, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so is it the quick buck? Right? Is it making up numbers in a certain quarter? Like, I don't know, but it's very odd that they only typically have like 2 drops a year, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, they're doing something right. There must be some statistic that shows that they will sell better if they release them like this. But for me personally, I don't know, maybe I'm just the minority. I would rather buy them over the course of a year, because it also makes it more exciting. I think there's more to look forward to, where like you're gradually, you go to a Target one day and then suddenly like, oh, holy crap, look at this. Like, Lotus is here. Like, I guess she came out, instead of just like, there's this one date where you just have to go out there and just go nuts. Like, you just have to, it's like Black Friday, stories. Like you were saying, people getting in fights over turtle toys and stuff. And I don't know, it's just hard for me to defend that. I don't know what else to say.
There's no point to defend it. Like you said, like, again, I was more so playing devil's advocate, to where it's like, okay, because I mean, let's be real. I mean, they're a business, they're a corporation. Like, they have guys that do these things on YouTube channels. Like, they're out in the public, but at the end of the day, like, they're there to make money. You know what I mean? They're not our friends. Like, they're not. And like, it's not good to look at even like, I mean, if it's a super small company and it's like one guy running the show, like, I can understand that. Like, but at the end of the day, like, you can't trust anybody that's trying to make money off their stuff. You know what I mean? Because like, that's why there's that expression, like, it's not personal, it's business. Like, this is business, even though like they're trying to act personal about it, it's business. Like, and again, that's why I don't like there's no company that I just like tout or super support. Like, yes, I love NECA, I love Super 7, but I'm very critical of both those brands. I don't care if I ever got to the point where like I did interviews with those guys. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really give a shit, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
I just want the toys. Like, that's all I want at the end of the day. Like, I don't want to be best friends with Randy Falk. I just want the toys he's putting out.
Yeah. I think another thing that bothers me about the release schedules, they do a lot of these exclusives. There's ones that like, I think, because, you know, basically showing that Bebop and Rocksteady's gang is selling as well as it did. Like, there's no excuse why Scrag can't be a retail figure at this point. There's no excuse why the human forms of Baxter, Splinter, Bebop, and Rocksteady can't be a retail package, because I still need those. I don't have any of those figures. There's a collector store by me selling Scrag for $114. And I'm eyeing that because I'm like, I might just have to go with that. You know, he's probably cheaper online, but they're selling the Dark Turtle for like 160 or something. Jesus. And like, I want that figure too, especially getting Mighty Hog and Rhino Man. Like, they didn't fight in the show, but it'd be cool to have like them fighting Dark Turtle. But yeah, they make it really hard to get some of these major characters. And I don't know. Scrag's not a freaking major character. I'm not kidding. Who am I kidding? But know,
now
like,
he is crucial. You know what I mean? Because like you said, and that's the one nice thing is because I only have one Scrag, I'm not going to buy both sets because I don't want to have one of the gangs missing a Scrag. So I'm only going to get one set and I'm going to put my Scrag back to human form. And that's the way those guys are going to be. So that's kind of a nice caveat for me, is that I will not be doubling up on those sets. But that is a thing that's kind of annoying, because it's also with like the Mirage figures. Like, I got the Crab Shredder, but if you didn't get that in the loot crates and you get the giant mutated Shredder and the little baby one, like, now you can't put that trio together unless you have it. Which, when they first started doing the exclusives, that's exactly what they said they were going to be, is figures that you didn't need for your line but would be cool. But now that we're getting into all these deep cuts, you do need these figures to complete your line. Like, there's a hole if you don't have Scrag in that gang. There's a hole if you don't have that Crab Claw Shredder. And like, the Dark Turtle is a better example of, I think, what could be an exclusive, because I mean, he was in an entire episode and stuff like that. But like, I mean, it's not like Scrag where you're trying to put together a subset.
Yeah, although I mean, like, you slap, then he's basically Batman. So you slap a Ninja Turtle with Batman, everyone's gonna fucking buy that figure. That would sell like hotcakes. That would sell better than anything in Haulathon right now. Even if people weren't familiar with the reference, they'd just be like, "Oh crap, a Ninja Turtle dressed as Batman, awesome!" Right. Just buy it. But the best example, I think, of what should be an exclusive is the Bunny Rabbit Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yep,
I don't need those. I don't give a crap that I don't have those figures, to be honest. But Scrag, I want. You know, I don't collect the video game line, but like, Armagon is a freaking essential figure. That's not an exclusive. Armagon should just be a retail figure. Yeah, there just seems like there's a lot that, like, will those ever come out of the vault? You know, we're talking about like, is Casey going to come back? Like, what about the exclusives? Are the exclusives ever going to come out of the NECA vault? Because there's a lot in that vault. There's actually, I don't know if you saw the interview. There was an interview I saw with NECA. They exposed that there's an unreleased figure in this line that they actually fully sculpted, and she's never been released. Tiffany, Burns' girlfriend at the beginning of season 2, is they fully made the 3D sculpt for her. And you can see like demo pictures of her online and stuff, and like how she would look with the paint. And I have to say, honestly, she looks really good. Like, for a character I don't care about really at all, she looks really good. She actually might be like one of the best female figures in the line if they had released her. And you can see the 3D sculpt of her in the picture frame that came with the Channel 6 one. That actually is a photo of the sculpt they made, like in the picture frame. But it's like, I don't give a crap about Tiffany. But once they showed me, we made Tiffany and then said, we don't really plan to ever release her, I was like, well, no, you got to give me that freaking Tiffany now. Like, you got to release that. Like, I need her now. Cause like, you show me like, oh yeah, we made this, but don't worry about that. You're not getting that. It's like, well, now I want it. Like, you can't just wave a toy in my face and then tell me I can't have it. Like, so I wonder what other characters have they made that they sculpted that they've just never released. I wonder if, it happens in every toy line, but it was just funny that he showed that in the interview. And it's like, dude, you know, your message box is going to be flooded after this interview of people just asking for that figure now. So maybe they'll release her now that they showed it off. But maybe that was even like a tactic, like he wanted to release it and he was told by a higher up they weren't going to. So now he like exposed it. So now they will release it. But
do you like see like how good they are at playing the mind games too? You know what I mean? Like something you didn't even want, but now that they showed it to you and you can't have it, you want it so bad. Like,
yeah,
it is sick. It is not cool to do that to people, but fuck, NECA is good at making us want to buy their shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is about NECA. I don't know what it is about these toon figures, but they're just giving us more than what we ever thought we could have wanted.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us just spent like what $50 or $60 on a box that comes with a framed picture of cheese. Like they're giving us ridiculous stuff now, but it's like, oh, it's part of this line. I got to get it now. So it's like we're just going after everything. And I mean, I guess the expression like they're holding our childhood ransom, like they're like, they know like you grew up with this show, you love everything about this show, you're gonna buy anything from this show. And they're right, a lot of us will. I wish I didn't care as much. I wish I would just be like, you know what, I don't have a connection to that character, I'm gonna skip that character, but I want them all. So yeah, NECA's really good at doing that. Whereas like they're definitely better at doing that than Super 7. Like that alt of Shredder in wave 8 of Super 7, I am not getting that figure. Like I don't feel bad at all skipping that figure.
No.
But I can't skip like that much in NECA. I mean, I guess I skipped some. I didn't get the glow in the dark Muckman. I didn't get the black and white Usagi. Actually, he's one of the only ones I did see in stores. I saw one of him. I've seen the red Roman.
You saw him, you didn't get him?
No, I didn't get him. I don't usually do alts, like paint variants.
Oh man, dude, like that figure, he's just so damn cool though, man. Like
yeah, he looks cool, but I don't know.
I guess you don't love Usagi like I love Usagi.
Yeah.
Though, so yeah, like I just see that figure differently. Like that was like again the thing that I'm like that and the accessory pack are like please be there. So
yeah, the accessory pack I'm really glad you were able to get from me because that's like I think that's going to be impossible to find down the road.
But they already said they're gonna, I think, re-release it or do an. I don't know if they're gonna do an open pre-order. Yes, it had the baby turtles and stuff like that in there, but typically their accessory packs have not been moving well. You know what I mean? So like that's just another example of like how fucking powerful this turtles line is. And so something that I'm gonna give you like a hypothetical. And again, I know there's some people that are gonna argue this. I think they're jumping the shark moment is when they get into the red sky stuff. And that's where I'm going to be able to take an easy pass, honestly. Like, that's where the line will become passable for me. Like, I know even if I see it, I have no attachment to the red sky series, like the red sky seasons. Like, it does nothing for me. And I know there's people that want it, but I think a lot of people will be like me in that aspect where they're like, okay, like, now I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd get Lord Dreg, probably not.
Because he even just pisses me off, honestly. It's like, you're not Shredder, like be Shredder, dude. Like,
yeah, I'm not gonna rush out to buy a Carter action figure or something. You're like nobody will, no one cares. And then they're gonna make mutated Carter, and then they're like
that mutated Leonardo.
Oh yeah, that. I think that will be the death of the line. I think you're right.
I think so too. I think that's their jumping the shark moment. And I think they're really avoiding it because there hasn't even been anything shown from that deep yet.
Yeah, I will say though, actually, I want to talk about what we're talking about right now, but real quick, I want to just add, they did put up a pre-order right before Haulathon this year. They did the portal.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Donnie's portal. But yeah, I do. Although it seems like this set is this series is going really strong. I do think the end is starting now. As pessimistic as that may sound, as like dreadful as that may sound, I do think that this is going to be the last biggest wave of figures for them, because I think if they keep up with characters of this level of popularity, eventually, you know, going that long with no heavy hitters, you can only last so long before people just start trickling out and just stop caring. So I think, like, you know, we got Usagi. He's like one of the biggest ones. You know, we got all the major villains from the show, all the major characters from the show. A lot of people's most wanted figures have happened already. This is the first batch of figures where, aside from my weird ass, I don't think anyone else like had a most wanted character in this wave. Like Mona Lisa, like for me, but like I think most other people, like nobody in this wave is like one of their top picks for characters they want. So I think if they just keep putting out characters of this caliber, these kind of like, leftovers, if you will, I think that's only going to be able to carry them for so long before they have to do something. I don't know, or just call it quits. Because I think by the time they get to the Red Sea guy, they're done.
But
I still want Ray.
That's where the rehashing comes into play, and it's like, all right, we got new Shredder, all right, we got new Bebop and Rocksteady, and I mean,
but traditionally, when toy lines do that, they start to die. Even the vintage Playmates line, they started doing, here's like the Toon version, here's a repaint of Shredder, look more like the Toon version, and that's when the line died. Is when they just started doing that. They remade April for the 400th time, and they just started doing all Bebop and Rocksteady and April variants and stuff, and that's when they really lost everybody. And I kind of feel like we're just on the cusp of entering that phase for the NECA line. We might not be. I'd love to be proven wrong. I still really want Ray. He's still a high one I want. I want Ray. I want Murdude. That'd be a great 2-pack. But once you get past them, there's very few characters left that I really care that much about. Tempestor would be cool.
Yep, Tempestor. Bugman is another one that
Bugman's coming.
Come out in this one that they showed off. Yeah, so I could see Bugman and Tempestor would be like an almost perfect 2-pack, you know what I mean? Because they were both from those VHSs with the Leonardo lightens up and Michelangelo meets Bugman.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, man, like they still have all the gangster characters. Like, I don't know, man. I think this line is, I don't know. I think it's still got some freaking miles on it, honestly. Like, I could see this one going. I don't know. I don't see an end in sight. And again, with how rabid people still are for these F tier characters, like I see this going for. I don't see an end of this line until they get to the Red Sky, and then, like I said, I think at that point that's going to be their jumping the shark moment. But
I see it as like it's going to gradually fizzle down, and then Red Sky will be the absolute death. I can't imagine people getting excited for what was his name, like Gog or whatever, like the little Pee Wee Herman alien and stuff like.
Yeah, again, all the stupid ass aliens, man. Like there's the ones with 6 arms and stuff like that.
That's the thing, Herman though. Is I think people are putting up with this now because they're still off the high of getting, Usagi Yojimbo and getting Ground Chuck and Dirtbag and Chrome Dome and stuff. But once you start to get nothing but those like F tier characters, I see the demand fizzling out over time. I do think to a certain degree that is why they put all these out at once and turn into this huge like first come first serve, you must go out and get these now kind of event, because I think even they know some of these characters would just rot on shelves if they were released regularly. Like I think like they know like nobody's dying to buy a Jersey Red action figure normally. Right? Like she's part of this big wave, but if they just released her randomly, like Grunt and Jersey Red came out in May randomly, they'd probably be just like shelf warmers at that point. Like by the end of the summer, you'd find them everywhere. I think that was kind of happening even with like the Neutrinos and the Rock Soldier and the Crooked Ninja Turtle gang. When those came to retail, they just sat on shelves by me. And I think they were already feeling like the burnout there. And so now they turned into a big event because they're like, we don't want that happening with these figures who are even less known. Or I could just be being incredibly pessimistic and the line could just be getting bigger and bigger and bigger and I'm just being an asshole. But that's how I see it going.
So the reason I feel like those sets sat is because they did an open pre-order on their website for them. So again, I'm the kind of person that's going to take them up on that every time, because if I don't have to fucking hunt for them, I'm not gonna. So I feel like that's where the difference, because again, if they would have did that for Haulathon, it would be a totally different story if they just did open pre-orders. Like that's the game changer. Like, and that's just what drives me nuts is they have that ability to offer it. So I don't understand why they can do certain things on their site sometimes, but other times, like they're just giving it all to Target. Like, and again, I don't fucking know anything about business. I don't know what their deal is with them, but that's what's weird about it is like, does Target just decide, okay, we're only buying this so much and then you can sell as much as you want after that? Like, I don't know. It's just a very weird model of sales.
It is. I think the number one problem with the distribution to me just comes down, and the rarity just comes down to the fact that they have the Target deal, the exclusive deal. I think if they were also sold in Walmart and like little toy stores and malls and stuff, I think I'd probably have no problem getting a lot of the characters that have been hard to find. It's just the fact that Target has that monopoly on the line. And yeah, that's all it really comes down to. I absolutely love the NECA toon line. It is still my favorite line I'm collecting, but I just have issues with how it's distributed, and it's getting to the point where the hunt isn't fun anymore. The hunt is actually aggravating, and it's costing me a lot of time and money and gas. So
well, it's just, especially if you just do it so much with no reward. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. You know what I mean? Because eventually, like, that's how the hunt goes. Like, you feel shitty, you feel shitty, you feel shitty, and then you hit your fucking jackpot. And like,
Yeah.
that's what happened to me last week. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so easy for me to stay a little bit more optimistic. I find the figures, and if I wasn't finding the figures, I feel like it would be a lot different for me. Because again, like, I don't want to like brag or anything, but like, other than the original darker colored screen accurate, I'm missing 3 of those original sets, and then I'm missing all the Comic-Con exclusives. But other than the few sets from Haulathon right now, like, I do have the entire toon line. And I understand that, like, again, if you live in a metropolitan area, it's going to be damn near impossible for you to get these figures. If there's hundreds of people going after them and you have 6 targets, like you said, around you, it's just not going to be doable. So I can understand why there's so many different, like, I don't know, I guess just feelings toward this line, and why so many people get resentful towards it. Because again, at the end of the day, they are toys, but we want them. Like, we want these very badly. And I mean, it shouldn't be frustrating, it shouldn't be difficult, it should be fun. But like, the world just isn't perfect.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. I mean, it does suck, but I don't know, like, I feel bad for people that don't have it as easy as me. But like I said, I can't act like I've had it as hard as other people when it comes to collecting these figures.
Yeah, I mean, New Jersey is like, there's so many people crammed in here. There might be people living in my basement. I don't even realize. Everyone's just stacked on top of each other here. Like, yeah, like I said, like, these aren't close, these targets. You know, I'm driving far. I'm driving like, 20, 30 minutes to get to a lot of these targets, 40 minutes sometimes get these targets. They're all just cleaned out. I see the shelves with the little labels on them telling me each figure I don't have. Yeah, it's, again, like, I still love the line. I'm not gonna, like, I'm not calling it quits. I'm not like dumping on NECA here. They got to do what they got to do, and I love their product, and I'm gonna keep buying it. But I just, it does bum you out after a while when, like, it's the toy hunting is basically just like a video game. Like, if you keep playing a video game, say like the first 7 levels suck. They're just boring and long and slow, and they're not fun. But then level 8 is fucking awesome. It's a ton of fun. You're never even going to make it to level 8, because by level 5, you're going to be like, fuck this game, and turn it off. Like, you need some stimulation along the way to get you excited, to make you care about that end goal. And if you don't keep getting little goodies along the way to get you to care about the end goal, then like, you just give up on the end goal. And I don't want that to happen with this toy line. I want to keep collecting this toy line. So yeah, I have a lot of frustrations with it, but at the end of the day, I love it. It's been great. It's been a great toy line. I hope it continues for a long time. I hope I'm wrong, and I'll keep supporting it. I'll keep buying these figures, but yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, even like with the Mona Lisa, I originally intended to get 2 Mona Lisas because I wanted to use both head sculpts, like display them separately, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
So she's the pack that's going up this Friday at 9 a.m.
Okay.
So that's how I'm going to hopefully score mine. So yeah.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen when I'm sleeping. I work like a 16-hour until like 8 a.m. and then I go home on Friday. So by the time I get home, I'm a freaking zombie. Yeah, I don't even know, because then it's like, so do I buy another Mona Lisa now because she's available, or do I save my money to get the ones I won't have? Because like, I'm guaranteed to be getting Mona Lisa thanks to you. So it's like, I think I should rather just save my money in case, like Rhino Man shows up on the shelves or something. So it's like, you can't really buy what you want. You got to buy what you can, kind of. Yeah. So it's a really bad. I should have just asked you to buy like everything for me that day.
I don't even think I could have afforded to buy everything.
So. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like $600. And you're getting the black and white Usagi also. So I was like, yeah, like, that's so much money. Great line. It's just kind of a pain in the ass to collect. It's not the easiest line to collect. But I mean, all modern toy lines are kind of like that. So it's still a great line. It's the best thing to happen to Ninja Turtles in the toy world, probably in the past 20 years, I would say. Maybe even longer.
I mean, I definitely think so. Because like you said, like, the best line to compare it to right now is Motu Classics for sure. And that, again, every time I've ever watched like a Pixel Dan video where he has every single one, it's like, man, like, I barely knew anything about Motu the first time I ever watched that video, but it's like, I've never even seen or heard of some of these characters before, like in any iteration. And like, it's just awesome that we're getting a line like that to where somebody that comes in that doesn't know it that well is like, who the hell is that? Who the hell is that? And to me, like, I don't know. I just really like that. Like, I like that we have this ultra deep line with ultra deep cuts. And again, what's a deep cut to some people might not be a deep cut to other people. It is really kind of hard to define what really is a deep cut with this line. Because again, like by definition, Rex should be a deep cut. Mona Lisa should be a deep cut. They were only in one episode, but like to us, they're huge characters. And like that's the one thing that I didn't really think about until we had this conversation is like, you know, they saved Usagi for very late in the line, and that's something that everybody was really rabid for. And maybe they are running out of those bangers, you know what I mean? Because I mean, I mean, I really want a Tempestra. I want her really bad, but that doesn't mean everybody else does, you know what I mean? So yeah, I hope I'm right. I hope it goes on forever and goes. I hope we get every stupid gangster, every stupid alien. And as long as, like I said, I probably won't get into the Red Sky, but anything else that was through seasons 1 through 7, I'm going to be all over it.
I mean, theoretically, Lotus should be a really high tier character because she is what inspired Karai. Karai didn't exist in the Mirage comics until Lotus was in the cartoon.
Right. And now she's a staple. Like,
yeah, she's been in she was in movies before Bebop and Rocksteady were ever in the movies. So she was in a movie all the way back in 2007. So she's been a huge character in Turtles. And she came, if the cartoon had never made Lotus, they never would have made Karai. So Lotus Blossom's a huge deal. But yeah, it is cool though, because it's getting a lot of younger fans like into the vintage Turtles. There's times where I'm mad at Target, you know, I'm like grumbling to myself because I don't see anything. I'm like, these fucking people don't even know who these fucking characters are. I've loved them since I was like fucking 3 and stuff. But like, no, in all honesty, it is cool that they're getting into this classic line. And I think, like what we're going to talk about next time, Shredder's Revenge did that too. And after Shredder's Revenge came out, a lot of much younger people who did not grow up with the 87 cartoon were suddenly interested in it. And they were trying to find out who the characters were, and they were going back and watching it. And now you can talk to like 18-year-olds who know who Tempestra is and stuff. It's crazy. So like, it is cool that they're breathing new life into this franchise, into this product, like this version of the franchise. Like this late, like down the road when, you know, all the fans are in their 30s and 40s of the original show, the original fans. So I do like that. I love that it's doing so well. I love to see that it's doing so well. You know, if not for the success of a line like this, we probably wouldn't see Genghis Frog or Mondo Gecko in a major motion picture coming up. Like stuff like NECA really refueled the popularity of these characters. We probably wouldn't even have the Super 7 line if not for NECA's line. Like, it just seems like NECA really just got people like tuned in on like the classic 87 Turtles again. And it's really just making it into like a huge modern franchise all over again. Yeah, it's awesome. So actually, since next time we are going to be talking about Shredder's Revenge, we'll be back to video games. I have to say, just a second ago, I saw a message in a server I'm in on Discord. They just announced while we were recording this, in Call of Duty, they're putting Shredder in. I saw a little trailer where they show off Shredder and they're like, a great evil is coming. And then it just says the date of when he's coming. And it's like, I don't know how the hell that's going to work, but I don't know if it's going to be like all turtle themed in Call of Duty or if it's just
I could see Fortnite, but Call of Duty sounds way out there. Yeah. I mean, I haven't played Call of Duty in quite some time, but
last time I remember, Call of Duty was all about like World War II and stuff, and every now and then you got some zombies. I know they went to space.
That's the one where I dropped out. I think was World War II because I think Black Ops 3 was the one before that was the last one that I really played much.
Oh, yeah, I've never been a big shooter guy, so the only memories I have of Call of Duty and Halo for that matter is just playing them at friends' houses for like a few minutes. But yeah, that's a weird pick. Maybe Call of Duty's trying to like rival Fortnite, like we're gonna get all the franchises Fortnite didn't get or something. But yeah, that's just an interesting news story, I guess. I don't even know what the name of the Call of Duty game will be, but Shredder is going to be in it. I'm sure there's a lot more we could say about NECA, but we're already going over our normal time span anyway, which I thought we would this video. So we got to end it at some point. So thanks to everyone for listening and good luck looking for all this Haulathon stuff.
All right. Oh yeah, man. All right. Take it easy.
Take care, man.
All right. Peace.
Peace.